we have a chance to try to extend our season record to 12 games. And that's important for us, and that's the only thing that's really pretty much on my mind, and I think that speaks for the masses when I say that. Defense is playing great, the special teams getting great field position, the offense is winning, the point of attack, we find ways to win.
You can't get to there until you take care of what's next.
I want to be number one.
Do you think you are the best?
Right now, at the time in life and where I'm playing at, yes.
You damn right we's the best. It's the C3 podcast, folks. Tony Dunn here, chopping it up with you Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. C3 Panthers podcast, hosted by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. I'm here with my best buds. We are the best. Joe Riolano, what is up, my friend?
What up, Tony? I am ready to talk some Panthers football. I got some things I want to say. I'm not going to give any hints, though. I'm ready to get this show on the road. Happy to be here with my homies.
Mel Mayock, happy almost 4th of July. You're ready to go to bed and wake up for those fireworks tomorrow, aren't you?
Something like that, man. I tell you, 3 weeks away from training camp. It's time to get serious about the 2018-19 season. Let's go.
The early fireworks are tonight, Mel. I'm shooting them off tonight on the show. All right. Cody Lashney here. Cody, how are you, my friend?
What's up, boys? It's July 3rd, and tonight I'm getting ready to play. Is it fireworks or gunshots? It's going to be exciting. What's up, boys?
We shoot shots.
I'm ready to talk about some Panther football, man. Let's do it, dude.
What is up to our best buds? Carl Van in the house, J-Dub in the house on YouTube, holding it down. I'd like to thank everybody for their support for the C3 podcast. You can help us grow and continue to grow each and every week by giving us a subscribe, hitting that thumbs up button, and our kind of campaign, which is just simply share this show with a one Panther friend. Send the link and be like, yo, listen to this podcast. We like it. It's like hanging out with our boys, riding to a football game and just chopping it up. I think you'll dig it. And look, we'll get followers out of that. Look, I know this, that 10 Tizzy, what is up? You guys are the best, the people that hold it down with us in the quiet times of football. And the good news is that it is quiet. So tonight, guys, is kind of a show where I don't know if we've done a show like this in maybe 3 or so years where we really didn't have any news to talk about, like specific news. So we then just picked important topics to us related to the Carolina Panthers to reflect on. And that's what we're doing tonight in tonight's show. I'm going to ask you this. Is Devin Funchess more Vincent Jackson or Malcom Floyd in Norv Turner's offense? I went back and watched some 2011 tape from the San Diego Chargers. And I tell you this, is that even if it is Malcom Floyd, you're going to be happy. Hey, because Malcom Floyd was a baller, man, for being undrafted. We're next going to ask another conversation that I had on Twitter. Actually, I tried not to engage in this one. Meg Ryan or Cam Newton straight up for the trade. Would Atlanta Falcons make it? I think they would. They cry they wouldn't. And that's talking sense to morons. That's the last component to the show. So we got some other things. We got your cat calls tonight. We appreciate your support. Let's go ahead and jump into this, guys. First, I'll open the floor up. Anything on your mind about the Carolina Panthers this week, just in general?
In general, man, dude, I can't even tell you, dude. I'm so excited about tonight's show because I want to talk about our quarterback, man.
All right. This is a great place to launch this discussion off.
Yeah, dude. So listen, I think it was 2 weeks ago we were talking about Ron Rivera and how he was doing this interview, and it's so bland, dude. just sitting there and he's saying the same old song and dance, and it's boring. And I brought up how
it was Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, it was McCaffrey.
Remember, and that was the name of the show. Christian McCaffrey is boring, and it wasn't a slight,
right?
Just an observation.
Yeah, and that's as a fan. On one hand, we get bored hearing these players say the exact same thing all the time, but then those same fans will be hypocrites, and they'll hear Cam Newton, who is now very, very spicy with his choosing of words. And he's back on Instagram and he's speaking his mind. And you're hearing Cam shoot from the cuff. And it's like now everybody wants to be upset and everything. And listen, if you don't like his language, I understand that. But at the same time, I don't want to hear someone present to me a persona that they are not. I don't want to hear the media trained version of someone. I want to know what this person that I follow and who represents my team that I love so much, I want to know what they really feel. I want to know what their mind actually works like. So that's why I love Cam Newton back on Instagram, shooting from the cuff, man, letting us know his real emotions on things. And I think that now that, that Jerry Richardson is no longer the specter looming over the Panthers right now, I feel like Cam no longer has a burden to hold back now.
Joe, I wanted
to glad that Cody brought this up because I knew this was coming.
Oh yeah,
I saw it that with that first Instagram post that Cam put out once he got back on. He was really himself, and at that point I realized how Jerry Richardson had put Cam in this box, and Cam felt obligated to play within the parameters of this box, I guess out of respect for Jerry.
Yep.
Well, Jerry's gone, and Cam is free. He can be who he really is. And I think that's what we're seeing with all this Instagram stuff he's putting out. There's no filter. He is completely unbridled. There are no restraints. And he is being himself. And that is trouble for the rest of the NFL. Because when Cam is at his best, he's in the groove. His confidence soars real high, and that's when he's dangerous. We have not seen that Cam in the NFL. We saw that Cam at Auburn, and you know how good he was at Auburn. So we're getting ready to have a big year for Cam because he has no handcuffs.
I got first. We're gonna play that Instagram. We got both of them, both clips tonight. But Joe brought up the first one, so we'll start with that one. But I was gonna ask you, Joey, do you like knowing that these guys are? Do you like knowing the human side of? And I don't want you to feel obligated to say yes, like as in like yes, of course we want to know the human side of all this. But do you enjoy the human side of sports because it's a mixed bag, right? I mean, you come with look, you go from having the protests, which people have talked about ad nauseum, right? I mean, you get the good and the bad. You get the charity work, you get the guys that have problems at home. The authenticity, I guess, is what I'm asking about. Do you appreciate that, or do you like it more polished and buttoned up?
No, I like the visceral reality.
Because I think that's a good word you use, reality, because here's the thing is that even when it is buttoned up and polished, is that you're not getting the real, and I think this is what Cody also said, the real version a lot of times. And we're kind of reading all this stuff. We're pouring so much of our energy into it. And imagine if you just poured all your energy into something and you found out somebody sucked, like their personality sucked, and you thought they were Right. So here, Mel, I'll ask you this before we play the clip. Mel, how do you feel? Is that a lot of times that I feel like people say we want to know more about these people. We want to see beyond just the football field. We want to see what they do in the community. We do in this. And then sometimes we're not happy with it.
No, that's true. I mean, and I got to say, I'm not sure there's a bigger Cam Newton fan out there than me. I absolutely love.
That's a lie.
Well, no. Show me.
Come on, you're looking at him.
You want to fight?
Boys, we're friends here.
Okay. Hey, family fights, but
that's true.
But I do love Cam. But I got to say, I'm not a fan of what he's doing on Instagram. That's me personally. I mean, I wouldn't want my son, and I don't think either of you or any of y'all would want your 7, 8, 9-year-old son hearing that. You know, I mean, he's the face of the franchise. Just he can be himself without dropping the F-bombs. I don't think that's necessary. That's just my point of view. But
I think that's a good one to have. Is that can you be authentic and without having to force it? Maybe right. Here
and I get it. He's probably. I mean, all these professional athletes, I'm sure, and a lot of people in life are at work dropping F-bombs, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm just being myself."
You do a podcast with Tony Dunn.
Sure. And it's okay.
You never know what you're gonna get.
You don't. But just because you drop the F-bombs left and right doesn't mean you got to put it out there to the public. That's my opinion. You know.
So, go ahead, Mel.
I just think just because that may be the way you talk naturally, which by the way, that's not the way I talk, and that's not to say.
No, Mel is not clean cut to the point of being like, good God, he's stuffy clean cut. He's real. He's like, but I mean, he ain't out there spitting chaw and talking about some sailor talk.
Yeah, and I just think it can take. I think it can throw shade on some of the great things that Cam Newton does.
Right.
That's the way I say it.
I think it's a legitimate point. Cody, I was going to say this is if you want to go ahead and make this point, I do want to play some of the clips from the videos.
Yeah, all I was going to say is after you're done playing the clips, I want to ask Mel a question. But before you do play the clips, if you have any kids that watch the podcast, maybe either cover their ears or send them out of the room because Cam is spitting real with you on tonight's show.
Right. Yeah, the first minute though is tempered. The second one is more unbridled. Obviously, here we go.
Yeah.
Cam Newton explains why he's back on Instagram.
And it was too early to go back to sleep, so I figured I'd just start walking my property.
He's got to walk his property.
I want to speak my piece on something.
That takes hours.
Yeah.
So check this. So the main reason why I really came back was. And I realized, like, my impact on kids, like, any and everything that I do, that's what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to impact these young boys, man, in any way. Like, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, where opportunities are extremely slim for minority people. You know what I'm saying? But there's opportunity for you to do it. In the position that I'm in, I just want to inspire to do so. That you ain't got to sell dope. You ain't got to, like, your ass ain't got to rob, you ain't gotta do none of that legal shit to damn, get the bag, as these young boys say. You feel me? You commit to something and do it, the world is yours. You feel me? So I just really wanted to speak my piece on a couple of things, man. Before I go lay it down and get this dog on.
Gotta get a massage.
There's a lot of dudes out there that's
tissue, baby.
Understand that, realize that.
I know life is tough for all y'all.
But coming from my vantage point,
I
just know that I owe it to a lot of people.
Lower and to the left.
Stay true to who I am. A person that never fold, but give 100% pure facts.
All right. So sorry, that was from I got that off of YouTube on Gucci News Guys channel, whoever that is. I just Googled it and that was the one I got up. All right, so here Cam Newton said he's got to wake up and he's got to, he's up. He couldn't go back to sleep, so he's going to walk his property. And then he does this video. Most people have already been around their property twice by this point. You know what I'm saying? Nah. So I think this is the question. This goes to how authentic is this?
Super authentic. I mean,
you believe this is Cam?
Well, see, and this is the deal. I mean, none of us question his character. So we know what he does for children, man. He has his own charity, and he doesn't do that because he has to. He does it because he's in a position where he can, and he wants to give back. And this is what I wanted to ask Mel, and you haven't played the more vulgar one yet.
Yeah, we're going to get to that one.
Yeah, there's another one. But so, Mel, and I know you're a huge Cam Newton fan, as are we all. But does this in any way make you think less of Cam in any sort of way? Maybe not him as a player and what he does for the team, obviously, but and that his character, and that even though he knows there are young people that are listening to him, he still chooses to use that kind of vernacular?
It does not make me think any less of him as a person. Absolutely not. I mean, every single person out there is a mixed bag of good, bad, great, terrible.
True.
And I just think he could be wiser about what he does. But he as a person, no, he does way better things than I could ever imagine, because he's made it to that platform where he impacts kids. I think he's outstanding. But I just think that's a side of his personality that he's letting out to the public, which, I don't think any less of him for it. I just think, exactly what he said. He impacts young people's lives. I don't think he should be putting all that more vulgar stuff out there. Not that it makes him a bad person. It's just
wise.
I can ask.
Wise is a good word.
Yeah,
wise.
I mean, Tony, Joe, do you want your little boys listening to that?
I do a lot. Well, actually, I say a lot of things that on this podcast that I wish I wouldn't say. You know what I'm saying? Honest, I mean, I am gonna say that I do believe I take a risk.
Your mother will let you hear about it too.
Yeah, no, she ain't gonna listen. She probably got to 12 seconds.
I don't know, man. She said
I think part of the reason that he's doing is choosing to talk that way is he's targeting a particular segment of the population. I think he's trying to be more relatable to maybe a less fortunate.
And that's very, he may feel like he'll get more airtime, more ears from the segment he's trying to reach.
There's a kind of a line he's walking. He's trying to keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also trying to give a motivational message, right? I mean, if you think about it, it's like the next one we play is like motivate you for the day. Like you're gonna play this, and all of a sudden, just like go,
it was
crush the Great Gatsby
or something like that.
yeah. So I mean, he's trying to walk this line between authenticity and keeping it real, right?
I think that's who he is.
Absolutely.
That's who he is.
Do you think by any chance, though, like you're talking about a guy who is super successful, right? Who has made so much money, who is beautiful. I mean, he's a beautiful person, beautiful man. Like, I mean, if you look at this,
here we go.
I'm telling you, like everything, it's like everything is good. I mean, look at them teeth. They just as pearly white as. I mean, it don't really get much better, right?
He has a body built by the angels.
Yes. Is that that's exactly right. We had there's this one kid that when I was in graduate school, and he was like the most buttoned up, straight edge kid in the world. I think he was still a virgin, right? And he would not eat after 8 p.m. He exercised every day. He was so good at life. We called him the blue jean Adonis. Right? That is what Cam is. Like, I mean, he's like a statue, like chiseled that way. Right. But I'm wondering this because I'm 36 and I feel like I'm going through life. Like I feel like as you get older, you start realizing like I'm trying to figure out life. And do you think any of this could be the storm of Jerry Richardson's exodus of this and that and all these things, keeping it real, but also Cam Newton, not a midlife crisis because he's not like 40 yet, but like realizing that he's the older hat in the room now. He's starting to become an old hat, and he's trying to hold on to a young cat.
Now, I do have to say, if I were Cam Newton, the first thing I would have done on Jerry Richardson's departure is I would have gone and gotten a tattoo.
Yes. Listen, Mel, I am so happy that you said that because it makes me think back. We all know the story when Cam was drafted. Jerry Richardson said, "No earrings and no tattoos." You know, because it's like Jerry Richardson wanted this molded, crafted version of what he thought a Carolina Panthers quarterback should be. And to Cam Newton's credit, he did what Jerry wanted. Mm-hmm. And there's no indication right now that Cam has any ill will towards Mr. Richardson. He was defending him the entire time. And all of his
anybody under the bus. Yeah,
he never did that. He never did that once. And so after you play the second one, there's one thing that I want to mention. But so I'm 28 years old, and if I'm being honest, when I'm on the internet with y'all, I try not to use that type of language. But if I'm just being real, this Cam Newton sounds more like the type of way that I talk in my day-to-day life. So it makes me relate to him even more because it's like, that's a guy that isn't so far removed from who I am in my everyday life. I relate to him on an even closer level by him showing me, man, this is how I talk every day, man. And I'm going to talk to you all how I talk in my day-to-day,
Carl Van says, I still drop F-bombs. Look, Carl, we know you drop F-bombs. I get your messages on Facebook Messenger, bro. The F-bomb is safe. I saw this is Keith Warlick says this: if Cam all of a sudden becomes a better professional QB, even as an already MVP, which is amazing. Like, remember that, folks, is that like we always want to always pretend, not we, Panther fans are always defending Muggs, always saying like, what about the better? What about the better? Is like you haven't, he has been great in so many ways, and it needs credit. Yeah. Because he can freely curse on IG, then by definition, he's not a professional. And I don't believe that. Yeah, I mean, this is continued. I think what this shows is how much more complicated being a professional athlete is today. Because Cam Newton doesn't want to just be a professional athlete. He wants a brand.
He wants to be an icon, like he had said coming into the league. Icon and entertainer.
Yeah, so I think that all of a sudden those things become more complicated when, he in many ways has intensified the stakes of what it is. But I think just by being a quarterback, by the things like Jerry, So here, let's give this. We'll go to the next clip. I just heard this one 5 minutes before the show.
Some straight. I want to get some straight. Like when I'm showing you these clips, like what I'm doing shit, I'm not doing this shit just to show face. I'm showing this shit to get your fucking ass up off your ass and do some shit. You feel me? That makes sense. Fuck with.
So I think this is that
I love it.
I hear you going to say this is that it's not wise. It is a little like, I hope your kid, if you do have kids, like, you know what? I'm not going to cry if my kids heard that. I would not turn it up. I would turn it down on purpose, but I'm one of those people that's like, the world, we got to kind of interact with the world in some ways. But I do understand. I mean, at the same time, is that if you just pressed whatever he pressed, you know what I'm saying? He's at the gym, testosterone pumping. It's not like you're over there being like, hey, what do you think about the news today? And can we find a balanced perspective? You're like, this mess is messed up.
And you know what? I I have a question for each one of you that it just sort of popped into my head. So I just sort of said that Jerry Richardson wanted Cam Newton to fit a mold, and Cam Newton genuinely did his best to fit that mold, right?
I think so. I think he's played. Look, if you look around the league and all the mess that has faced everybody, is that Cam Newton has not been in trouble. He's not caused any problems for the team. The worst he has done is put a towel on his head, pouted after a Super Bowl loss, and said routes to a girl. That's the worst.
And yet, he still faces in the mainstream media more criticism than most other quarterbacks. So it has me thinking in my mind, if Cam Newton says, you know what, I've been playing it the right way, doing it the right way for 7 years here in Carolina, and they still criticize me. So you know what? F it. Let them criticize me. I'm going to talk the way I want to talk, and just let them do what they do. I'm focusing on motivating people, doing good for people, and winning football games. So I guess my question, even though I'm long-winded, is do you think this is Cam just saying, I don't care anymore. I don't care what you think about Cam Newton, the man?
I don't think it's him not caring. I think it's just him being him. He is free. I think Jerry Richardson just kind of kept Cam on a leash, if you will. And now Jerry's gone, so Cam is unleashed. And I really think that's all it is. He's not having to be the mild Cam Newton anymore. He can be just regular Cam Newton, and that's what we're seeing. And I think it's going to make a difference in his play. I really do. I believe we're going to see maybe his best year. It's not this year. It's not this year, next year.
I got to say, the thing I'm most excited about is, man, what he's shown on Instagram, the videos with him and Antonio Brown and all that kind of stuff. He appears to be like he's going to be in the best shape that he's ever been in as a Carolina
He looks
Panther.
really good, doesn't he, right now? Doesn't he? He looks slim.
He looked fantastic the year he was the MVP, if you remember. Right. I mean, we talked about how he was just cut. He was just shredded that year, and he was
because the year before, I think he was a little heavy.
I think the year before was the car wreck, I believe, too.
There was one year he came in where I felt like it was 2014, where he looked a little bulked up, kind of like
Benjamin-esque.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. What I would say is more like what Shaq Thompson looked like his second year. Yeah. You remember Shaq Thompson tried to get to a weight that everybody told him.
A linebacker weight.
Right. And I think that, look, Cam felt like I'm getting beat up. I got to be the biggest, strong. I don't know. Maybe it could have been anything. Could have gone back to that damn ankle. Who knows? But he has looked thinner the last 3 years. Yeah. And this year, he doesn't look like. Do you look at Cam Newton and go, oh, my God. Father Time.
Not at all, man.
He takes a lot of hits. He takes a lot of hits. Nah, like I'm ready to run this car till the wheels fall off.
But I got to tell you, man, you can't say the window's closing, but this is his prime. The next 2-3 years, we need a freaking Super Bowl because when are we going to have a better quarterback than Cam Newton?
I don't know we ever will.
Right. So I love how this year Hurney has come in and kind of stacked the deck for him. It's all about health at this point. That offensive line, can they hold up? Can the key players stay healthy? If so, they got a legitimate shot.
And that makes me happy.
When it goes to the last thing I do want to talk about Cam being Cam, this thing, like I think what I would say is that maybe Cam Newton is wise enough to know that this is like the 1 year he can be that. Because after this year, he's already working on contract. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that right now is that he's not coming into camp this year and he's not like wanting to do a new deal. Like he knows that the new deal, I think, is going to be next year, right? Because that's when we're all going to start talking about it. I think that he knows that he has a limited window to where this has a limited financial impact, where he can keep it real for a second. I think he also he's mentioned that he likes Muhammad Ali a lot. And I've gone back and I've been reading about Muhammad Ali, not because of a Cam Newton, just because I'm into boxing and some various things. But I've been reading this book about Muhammad Ali, and there's a certain showmanship to them, right? Is that like there is a brand? So we don't know where he's trying to go. Is he trying to be the yogurt guy? Is he trying to be something different? Who knows? But maybe he's just wise enough to know that he has this like 6-month period right here where he can kind of do fun stuff like this. He can be honest, but on Sunday in week 4, after a loss or after a win, he's going to have to act like the coaching plan was great, the blocking was great, and that
you never know what Tepper's
the problem. That's what they're going to have to say every week. He's the problem.
Yeah.
That's what we want them to say, right? Isn't that what you want to say? You want a coach to be like, I could have done better. You want a quarterback to say, I could have done better. You don't want a guy to be like, well, Matt Khalil can't block.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, he knows this is the only time he can be like that.
I honestly believe that right now, with the whole Jerry Richardson thing put to bed, and now that he doesn't, we don't know a lot about Tepper, but now that we know who Jerry Richardson kind of was and who he wanted Cam to be, I kind of feel like, and part of the reason why I'm excited is now we're finally rediscovering Cam Newton, and now we're gonna kind of get to see him a little more for who he is and the player that he wants to be. I remember when he was drafted, he said that he wants to be a superstar, and
an icon.
He got a lot of heat for saying that too, because pundits were saying you should just focus on being the best football player that you can be. And while there is some truth to that, if Cam Newton wants to be a megastar, that also means he'll be a great influencer of people. And you saw him say that in the first clip that you played.
So the one thing, Mel, and we got to move on from this because I didn't think we were going to talk about this for this long, but you're saying, and I'm not trying to call you out, Mel, because you said, I think you have used the best word, wise. Like, is this wise? True. It's not about whether it's right or wrong, these types of things, but you wonder is that I guess there's 2 ways to skin this cat, and that being that, you want people to be wise in their behaviors, right? You want them to say the right things. You want them to put on the right image. You want them to do all these things that we wish we could do, right? But do you want that and it be fake? Well, I would say this is that Jerry Richardson, it may be the epitome of that at this moment. That's what I'm trying to say is that we all thought that Jerry Richardson was the clean dude.
Sure. And would I rather the F-bombing and everything that goes with it, persona, or the fake persona? Right. Absolutely.
They're not mutually exclusive. I see what you're saying.
But you don't have to be one to be the other, right?
Right. I mean, can we have honest, clean?
Yeah, you can be authentic. You can be authentic and even edgy and spicy, as Cody puts it. But you don't have to drop the F-bombs. You can talk like your kid is in the room.
Wouldn't it be better if Jerry Richardson just didn't sexually harass those people?
There you go.
It's not like, would we rather have Jerry Richardson or this? It's just like, we just rather have Jerry Richardson not sexually harass those people.
That would have been great.
So, great point, Mel. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Joe, I thought this was an interest. Look, Devin Funchess. I think he's going into a contract year, 2nd-round pick, traded up for him. The Twin Towers. It was going to be Devin Funchess, Kelvin Benjamin, and this big-bodied wide receiver group that nobody could stop. That turns out everybody could stop. But Devin Funchess, I was thinking about this, is I like to – people talk about everything in very vague terms. I mean, we all do this. I do it and all this. But I was like, people talking junk about Norv Turner and his coaching and this and that. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go back and watch some Norv Turner games. So over the last day, I just watched 3 Charger games from 2011 because that's as far back. I think it goes to 2009 on NFL Game Pass. NFL, you got to go back further. We want deep looked back. I want to see older Norv Turner. But I was looking at these games. I picked 2011 because it wasn't their best off. I didn't want to pick their best season, their worst season. I just tried to pick a okay season. I think it was one of Norv Turner's last seasons, if not his last season as coach of the San Diego Chargers. And I was thinking about this. Devin Funchess, is he more like Malcom Floyd or Vincent Jackson? Now, Vincent Jackson had like 6 years where he had over 1,000 yards receiving. I'll pull up his stats. Malcom Floyd was no slouch, though. I mean, he was a 700 to 900. I think he averaged 900 yards a year, 700 yards a year. He was pretty dang good. Undrafted guy. But if I'm thinking about this, the worst that I want Devin Funchess to be this year is Malcom Floyd. The best I want him to be is Vincent Jackson. Can he be Vincent Jackson, Joey? That's tough, isn't it?
It would be the best year he's ever had.
He would be like signed contract now.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think he's got the ability. The talent is there. It's just, will he get the ball?
A little bigger. No. Vincent Jackson was just as fast, if not faster, than Devin Funchess, and weighed about 15, 20 more pounds more than him.
Right.
So he was more like Mike Evans.
Okay.
That's the way I look at Vincent Jackson. He was 6'5", he was 240.
Yeah.
And he ran like a 4.46.
Yeah, I'm totally Mike Evans.
Or as Cam Newton would call him, a little fella.
Right.
All right, so Malcom Floyd is
who he would be.
He was 6'5". He was like 220, 215. So I think his frame more resembled, say, like Martavis Bryant, maybe Plaxico when he was like straight out of college. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So Malcom Floyd, though, was undrafted, but like did very well with the Chargers. In fact, he played till he was like 36 years old, and he played all with the Chargers. He was an undrafted guy. So when I was looking at this, though, is that if we get Malcom Floyd, if Devin Funchess is Malcom Floyd, I think you're going to be happy as hell because Malcom Floyd kind of killed it in Norv's offense.
And, maybe this is the perfect thing for Devin to be in an offense run by Norv Turner. I mean, if you think about it, so like a receiver that I've always been reminded of when I watch Devin is maybe a Alshon Jeffrey, who, by the way, turned it on last year. I mean, he was with the Bears, and he wasn't ever anything special. But then he went to the Eagles and got a new look, had someone else coaching him, and, he had the best year of his career. I mean, I can't necessarily speak to any of the guys that you're talking about just because I'm not familiar with them. But I believe that Devin Funchess can be an integral part of our offense, especially moving forward.
So here's a question for you guys. Who gets more yards this year? Devin Funchess or DJ Moore?
You think Funchess just because he'll probably play more.
Yeah, and Cam has a connection with Devin that I feel that he probably hasn't made yet. Well, obviously, he hasn't made yet with DJ. And there's a trust that they've built up just from playing on the field for the past 2 years. But I don't know, man. And it's impossible to know what DJ is going to do yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go the other way. Mel, I'm going the other way.
Yeah?
I'm going DJ Moore. And the reason being is, look, we're seeing authentic Cam. We're seeing wild, edgy Cam. But, where Cam was a little bit like that in his rookie year. And you know what he did? He came in and just, he threw it up. And Steve Smith, 125, 125, 125. I mean, I don't know. Is that
It'll be fun to watch.
I think that the real answer, the safe answer, is Devin Funchess, right?
Right.
I feel like we've also been slightly tempered by our expectations of rookies because of our last drafts. Like, I mean, think about this. Yeah. The last time we had a draft where the rookie went off was Kelvin Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so when you get like that, I don't feel like any of us.
But that's the last time we had a first round wide receiver, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we've had first round picks each year.
Our first rounders haven't blown anyone out of the water.
Right. Right. And maybe I feel like what I've been thinking about with DJ Moore, because I've been thinking about this on my own time, just like cutting the grass or whatever. And I was thinking, like, I just want to keep saying, like, oh, I'll be happy if he gets this. I'll happy if he gets this. But, like, you know what? I'll really be happy, and sometimes happens, is when you get a player who just effing explodes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really kind of want my first round pick also to have 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns.
And keep in mind the Saints. Yeah, and keep in mind the Saints.
Possible. Alvin Kamara.
Last year.
That's right.
Yeah, Lattimore, Kamara. Yeah, I love the optimism, man.
I don't like to just settle. I'm hoping that we get one guy that's like, holy crap, we crushed it.
What's that?
And on a physicality level, DJ does compare very similarly to Steve Smith, but he does have better physicality. He's a little bit bigger and a little bit faster than Steve was. So, yeah, man, the sky is the limit, dude. And Norv Turner.
There's no way he's faster than Steve Smith.
Oh, I'll bet you anything he's faster than Steve.
No way.
I'll bet, dude. I'll bet DJ. If I had to pick Steve in his prime or DJ in their prime, I bet you that Steve might be quicker, but I believe DJ has a higher top end speed.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
If that's the
case,
case,
something to watch.
Look, if that's the case, all of a sudden DJ Moore just got more exciting to me. Because I just always assumed that Steve Smith had like 4.3 speed.
Well, and Steve Smith was so tough, and his routes, dude, he would cross you up with the quickness. And like that's something that we've yet to see from DJ Moore. So, yeah, I'm obviously not making a
J-Dub says you crazy. Steve Smith, wait.
I
bet you $1 million.
I'm willing to be in the minority here, but if he turns it on, like we're all hoping, yeah, we might end up seeing DJ burn some people down the field.
All right, so go back and watch. One thing I've seen right away from watching these Chargers games, 3 observations from watching 3 games from the 2011 San Diego Chargers. First, Mel, this goes to you. Phillip Rivers is the most overrated quarterback in the history of mankind. This dude just chunks it up everywhere. And then he makes good passes. Like, you'd be like, dang, that was a good pass. Good disc. Good. It looked like a duck, but it got there perfect. Like this and that. And then my man had like 3 interceptions. I mean, if Cam threw 3 picks like good God. So first thing is that any of you that always people try to wear me down. There's this one guy at work. And he comes in once a year because I don't see him but like maybe 4 or 5 times a year. But at least once or twice a year, he wants to talk about how Phillip Rivers is a lock Hall of Fame. He's a big Phillip Rivers fan and you're like this and that. And he says he's first ballot Hall of Famer. And I was like, you're freaking crazy. And he goes, no, look at this. Other than those years where he had Tomlinson, Gates, and who else did he have then? Tomlinson, Gates, and he had like Keenan McCardell. I mean, he had some talent early. He said, other than that, they didn't have
Keenan McCardell.
Wasn't that who it was?
Well, he was, but he's not top end talent. I wouldn't say
he was good in like 1999.
But folks like Vincent Jackson, like you were talking about.
Yeah. But who was it? He had that year that it was Vincent Jackson wasn't there when they had LT. That was Ryan Matthews, Vincent Jackson time.
No.
Yeah. Ryan Matthews looked great in 2011, by the way.
Ryan Matthews was there in 2011? Really?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't feel like he's been around that long.
LaDainian Tomlinson's gone by that point. So you had all this thing. He kept saying this, is that Rivers didn't have no talent. Nah, even when he had talent, he just chunked the ball up sometimes. So that was one thing I noticed, is that I was right about Phillip Rivers. Number two that I noticed was that Mike Tolbert he's a running back. He was a running back there. He was a running back in Carolina. And
I saw him at a local pizza spot just a couple weeks ago, just chowing down on some wings with his kids, having a good time, enjoying life.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man.
Did you tell him that the guy that does the podcast with you has been in a fight with your mama?
I tried to pay a friend that was with me $100 to go tell him, say, dude, why'd you have to fumble in the Super Bowl for? Huh? He didn't do it.
Yeah, man, because he's dang. So, and then the third thing that I realized about these Charger games is that anybody who says that Mike Shula and Norv Turner run the same system is like talking about the most core elements of it, because Norv Turner's way more aggressive about, and when I say aggressive, even short passes are more aggressive. It is a more aggressive offense. And I don't know how to explain it other than that. But, I mean, they ran the ball. It's not one-sided, but they push. They push in the running game. They push in short passes. Is that I feel like all of a sudden that Christian McCaffrey's value just doubled.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I'm most excited about Norv Turner being a part of this. He utilizes backs like Christian McCaffrey, maybe better than any other coordinator, historically in the game, Real quick, I just want to mention, you were talking about Phillip Rivers. But the last time the Chargers came down to Carolina, every other pass, he was just throwing the dumbest passes. Dude, he had like 7 interceptions.
Yeah,
in one game. And, I mean, the dude's decision making, in that game at least that I was watching, was absolutely terrible, man. So yeah, I tend to agree with you on.
And I go back and I look at this, is because what my buddy always says is like 4,000 yards, 4,500 yards every year. And you go look at the stats. The stats are there. The interceptions are there, but they're not like, sometimes you look at me like, this is a crazy difference. The problem with Phillip Rivers is that I just in watching that 1 year alone in those 3 games I was choosing from, and I was kind of switching around weeks, is he played like the Browns, the Dolphins, and this and that this week, and I didn't watch those games, and he put up like 500 yards against them. He would have what I had a friend that always defended Andrew Luck, not defended, was a Clip Brock always said this about Andrew Luck. He said, you guys always talk about his fourth quarter comebacks and how he does all of this, but you don't talk about the first half, how his 2 turnovers made it so you had to have a quarter come back and forth.
That's right.
And that's how I felt like I was watching Phillip Rivers. And these were dumb. They were just so bad. It was like, good God, they were terrible. So that's what I think. I think Norv Turner's offense is going to be exciting. All right, let's jump into these cat calls. Look, we can take a show where we don't got anything to talk about and talk for an hour.
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Free Podcast. Maurice Carter out of Edge, North Carolina. Hey guys, I know that that the season's at a lull now. We're just waiting for Panther football to start up in July. But I was just thinking, man, we haven't had a receiving core with the potential like we have now since we had Steve Smith, Shockey, LaFell, Olsen.
I agree.
And I can't remember who that other guy was. But I'm excited, man.
He said, "Shock." Hold on.
Ian coming in and
did he
Moore,
even was he dropping the joke on? Did he didn't say Steve Smith, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he said.
Okay,
Smith.
so who was the other guy? Let's listen to it one more time.
The dude whose name you love, it's super African sounding. DeVarnay or something.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember who that other guy was.
Nay.
I'm excited.
Wasn't it?
With
I don't think he was there a rookie year, was he?
Yeah.
Moore and with Smith.
Yeah. All right.
And Wright, and then you got Samuels, and you got Bird. We haven't had this much speed on our receiving core ever, in my opinion, at the different positions. But Funchess, man, he has the potential right now to become a one. And I think that's good competition between, or potential competition between he, Smith, and Moore. So, guys, I'm excited. And the defense is going to be outstanding. You know, that front four, and then you got those boys on the edge, Peppers and Addison. We're going to have a potential Super Bowl run if we don't screw it up, because I know we got the right guys in place for offensive and defensive coordinators in Norv and Washington, and then with Rivera at the edge. Oh man, I'm excited. So anyway, guys, had a great show, and keep pounding.
Legadoo, nay.
There we go. That is a great name, man.
Legadoo.
It is a good name, and he wasn't as terrible as people make you believe he was. Thanks, Maurice, for that call. Fantastic. And I think that it's a point that is to be really looking at, is that if DJ Moore can be, if he can just be a legitimate player this year, if DJ Moore gets 600 yards this season, it's on. If he gets 1,200 yards, it could happen. That's what I think. I think Devin Funchess is slated to have a great year. I agree.
Yeah, I think Devin's gonna ball out, man. I mean, and it's a contract year, man. For when you're a receiver, you know, that's why receivers are divas. You know, they want the ball. If they don't get the ball, they're not getting paid. And I think him and Cam having that connection, that's going to serve well, because Cam knows that he can depend on Devin, and that means Devin's going to get paid if he plays well. So I'm happy about it.
Tin Tizzy on YouTube says, I think Ian Thomas will step in and be great. Another guy to watch out for, and that could all of a sudden.
That was me, by the way.
Oh. That was Cody who said that at Tin Tizzy. He was at mentioning Tin Tizzy. I think this makes it even better, Cody, because if
I don't mean to steal your thunder, Tin.
if you can hit a double with something like that, you know, you hit a double in the fourth round. What I mean by hitting a double is, it's like, I mean, we don't need a guy that can get. You know, I mean, like, wouldn't it be nice to have a guy that was surprisingly good? You know?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Cat Chronicles, Maurice Carter again, Andrew, North Carolina. Dude, I just remember.
Back twice.
I don't know, I'm getting old. I'm 50. I'm a teacher.
50?
5 years ago.
Good God. Good, congratulations.
But in any event,
I think that old now.
Again,
no, for the retirement part.
Oh, there you go.
Not for making it to 50.
We have, and for the first time since all those guys played together on our team. But we also have that same backfield. We got the Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams, but of course Christian McCaffrey is a whole lot younger than D Williams was.
Yep.
But C.J. Anderson is definitely another Jonathan Stewart, man. And C-Mac, man, he can catch that ball at the backfield and move up the field and juke guys. And don't forget about Curtis Samuels, how he was at Ohio State as a running back. You put the ball in his hands also coming off of the out the backfield or in the slot, and he's going to do the same thing, man. Cam Newton has so many weapons. And let's not forget about Cam. Cam, junior college, high school champion, and then, of course, whipping Alabama.
Let it rip.
With those boys and
Tell him
from Auburn.
Tell him,
and he pretty much took over that game by himself. I mean,
the best.
He had a number one receiver also there. But I'm excited, guys. I really am excited. So I'm just waiting for the season to start. And I can't wait to beat the hell out of those Saints, man. Ripping us out 4 straight.
Amen.
I'm going to say that about the Falcons because I hate the Falcons more. I think a couple of things I want to just going back and watching those Charger games. One thing I think that Norv Turner will be able to do better than Mike Shula was able to do. I think Mike Shula put Christian McCaffrey in space a couple of times, but I feel like it was fake. It was like Cam Newton not cursing on Instagram. And what I mean by that is, for some reason, I think that, and maybe it's just the optimism, maybe it's just me going back and watching some things, but I feel like what all of a sudden you're going to see is Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, some of these guys do is get the ball in space in a more natural way. And what I mean by that is like, hey, calm down. We know that you're 20, like all this pressure. I feel like there's pressure on Cam, there's pressure on all this. All of a sudden, I think a Norv Turner offense looks a little playgroundish. And what I mean by that is you guys got just guys dragging across the middle, beating them with athleticism. I think you're going to put Christian McCaffrey and say this. Remember, you're the man, dude. I understand that Galvin Kamara had a great season, but we're going to get you in space and you are going to crush it. I feel like they're going to be more dynamic in that natural playground way.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. The key to me is the offensive line. If they can hold up, this offense is going to be scary good.
Well, I tell you one thing is that the 2011 Chargers line was trash. So, good news for Panthers. Norv Turner knows how to do it with the trash line.
All right, so Super Bowl.
Go ahead.
One more thing I want to mention, and it even goes back to our last call talking about the defense. Listen, man, we're stacked, and no one's talking about us.
That's good.
No one's talking about how our offense
good.
Has weapons, and no one's talking about our defense. That means not only are we loaded, but we got some boys that are coming out there to take names and whip some you-know-what, dude. They want their respect, and they're not going to get that respect unless they ball, man, and they know that. So I'm very excited about the pieces that we have on our offense and our defense right now.
Fantastic calls, Maurice. We appreciate the support, man. Congratulations on being 5 years out of retirement, man. 50 is the new 25.
Super Bowl and win it.
Oh, no, this is the last 2 seconds.
Maurice Carter, Andrew, North Carolina. I'm out.
Love it.
Hey, what's happening, fellas? This is the world famous G. Cavassier.
Hey,
the show.
My dude.
I got a quick question for y'all.
The man.
Just if question. This has nothing to do with this season, nothing like that. Okay, yes, we all remember David Gettleman, the Yankee from up north that talked funny, who loved hog mollies.
We loved
the mob boss.
Question is, you guys.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers when Steve Smith left.
Yeah.
And I believe Dave Gettleman has something to do with that. And everybody remembers when Josh Norman left. your honest opinion. Do you feel that if Steve Smith would have never left the Carolina Panthers, we would have took that title in 2015, would have won that Super Bowl? And on top of that, do you think if we would have kept Steve Smith and kept Josh Norman, you know, do you think that we'll be in the running again for a Super Bowl? Because my opinion with Josh Norman, he's one of the best corners in Panthers history. In my opinion, he's next to Chris Gamble. I mean, Ken Lucas, he was good too, and Ricky Manning Jr., he's pretty good too.
Dude.
You know, but I think if we
love
would have kept
Ricky
those
Manning
two
Jr.
dudes, you know, I believe that something would have happened. I think
Don't forget Eric Davis.
Because I still get mad watching that Denver game. In a way, I believe that game was kind of thrown a little bit, but oh well. But anyway, y'all keep pounding, and that's just a question, you know, you guys to think about. I'll holler at y'all later. Keep pounding.
All right, Joe, I'll open this up to you because we won't go past the 20. Let's just say this, is that in 2015, the Carolina Panthers parted ways with Steve Smith, I believe, after the 2013 season. Right? So we go 12-4 in 2013. We went 4-12 Cam Newton's rookie year. Then we went 6-9 or something like that, maybe. In his second year, that was the year Khalil pulled out the newspaper clipping that said he was going to, right. And then you had 13 where Steve Smith once again asserts himself as like top dog. Not a great offensive year for the Panthers. The defense was just amazing that year. But how do you think Steve Smith works on the 2015 Carolina Panthers? I think there is some, I mean, in that one game, I know for one thing, my thought is that in the Super Bowl itself, he would have been an asset.
Oh, yeah. It would have been a totally different team. If we had Steve Smith, it would have been a totally different team. Probably, potentially go undefeated. Definitely win the Super Bowl.
He's like mean enough to just make it happen.
Right.
You know, Akib, what's his name?
Team to lead.
Thank you. Like Steve Smith would have faced, you know what him.
And told him to ice up. He would have made him ice up.
Yeah. So I don't think you can go beyond that. I do think I think that Gettleman did a couple of things that were perplexing. Is that he took a big risk going into the 2014 season, acting like he didn't need Steve Smith anymore. He took a huge risk to save, and if you went back and looked at what it saved, it didn't save a ton of money. It wasn't like he shaved off $10 million like you could have done with Khalil this year and said, "Oh, we'll figure it out." It was like 3. You know, so that was a huge deal. But you go, well, what's this deal about Cam Newton? Is it Cam Newton? Is Cam Newton's team this and that? Is that whatever? How much does that mean? But that was a big risk. The Norman thing was a pissing contest, and I feel like that was just a mistake. I think if anything, you should have just rented Norman for that year. But 2016, add Norman to the team, we still would have stunk.
Well, and Josh fired his agent right after that because the agent was playing hardball, and that's not what Josh wanted to do. Josh wanted to be here, man. And listen, I love Josh Norman, man. No matter what happens to Josh,
still been cool since he left. He's been
man.
Talk about keeping it real.
And dude, he was like buying presents and gifts for these kids that have been separated from their parents at the border. Like the dude has a big heart, man. I love Josh Norman. I will never not love Josh Norman. To play devil's advocate a little bit, Steve Smith wasn't going to play right tackle in the Super Bowl. And, you know what I mean? If Cam doesn't have time against DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, it doesn't matter if you put Steve Smith, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones on the same team, you know? So I can't say that would have been a victory for us. I don't know, man. That season is so magical. It's hard to go back and say that it could have been any better unless we had an all-star right
unless
tackle.
we had Daryl Williams playing right tackle instead of.
I don't agree. I think Steve Smith could have made enough of a difference because look how close it was having a bum tackle. Look how close it was.
Yeah.
And I will say
I
this.
think
Yeah, go ahead.
it could have made a big enough difference.
And I don't think that, we all believe Jericho Cotchery caught that ball, and I know we all think that. But no doubt in my mind, if that's Steve Smith going for that ball, they're not even going to replay. It's a catch every time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, hey, maybe so.
He grabbed his junk and said, "How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?" All right. So
we have to get G on the podcast, man. That dude's awesome.
I talked to him about it. He works third shift.
He's good. He's a great fan.
Yeah, man.
This is good. I was commenting and so back and forth about David Tepper buying out the minority owners. Oh, he's going to get rid of all the local owners. He's going to push out all the Southerners, and they won't like that because he's the Yankee. He's doing bad business. No, I don't think it's anything like that. I think David Tepper hasn't had to answer to anyone in a long time. I don't think he wants to other than the league. But my big thing about all this is we sold for a North American sports franchise rate $2.275 billion, which is false. Because when he buys out all the minorities, it's going to be way more than that. It's going to be like over 4. I want to know what the final number is.
Good question.
Thing I was just wondering that your guys' opinion on is I heard Cam Newton got his Instagram back, and on one of them he literally was like, "Oh, I'm here because I realized I got to show up for the kids. I got to be a role model and everything." And he's cussing during the whole spiel about being a person for kids to look up to. So kind of a mixed message. And I'm sure Tim will come under a lot of heat because of this and because of his Instagram. So, I mean, me personally, I don't really care because I care about him more as a football player. I mean, he is one of the faces of our franchise, and I understand that. But I don't believe that kids should have Instagram or Facebook anyway. I think it's kind of an adult thing. But I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it, like whether you think you should have one or not, because you did get rid of it for a while. Is it worth all the drama, or do you really not care? Just wondering. All right, love y'all. Keep pounding.
Good point. Now, we didn't bring up in our discussion about that is that while we don't want, maybe we want some things to be a little bit more PG-13ish, right? At the same time, is it the dude is that you don't want to not govern your kids' experience in the internet. Like if you just let your kids look at the whole, like the whole internet is not PG-13ish,
right?
You know? So I mean, I don't know. It's a different take. All right, guys, this is a C3 podcast. We got one actually. The whole part of the show tonight that we were supposed to do is I got in fights. I didn't even get in a fight. I didn't even respond to half of them. Atlanta Falcon fans were talking junk about Cam Newton because Tacos and Slurpees, who I think I'm pretty sure he does a podcast with the
he does Keep Poundin podcast.
Yeah, Keep Poundin, DENN. He said something like, "Well, man, if we had Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and all this like Cam Newton," and they would say, and then one Atlanta Falcons fan said, "Why? So he could throw it over their heads?" Like, you know. And I resisted saying 28-3 or whatever it was. I didn't say any of that. I just said, "Come on, man. You know, if you could, you would trade Matt Ryan for Cam Newton straight up." And Joe, I want you to lead that conversation. I'm going to step away for 30 seconds.
Well, I think it's funny you said that. I know Tony is the number 1 or 1A fanboy for Cam Newton. So I'm not surprised he would say that. And I think Matt Ryan's a good quarterback. There's no doubt about that. He's a very good quarterback. But he's not the weapon that Cam is. Cam is a weapon, or Matt Ryan's a quarterback. And I think that's where the differences are. Matt Ryan loses some of his value down inside the 5-yard line, where Cam Newton's value skyrockets the closer he gets to the goal line, because he is such a legitimate threat to run.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
I think that is the difference between the two. And they may be, whoever they were, might be too big of Matt Ryan fanboys, Meg Ryan fanboys, to realize that. And I think that's where you're going to get your difference. That's where the two become different. Their values differ. As we get closer to the goal line, Ryan's value goes down and Cam goes up, and that's why we want Cam Newton over Matt Ryan.
And I wish I had some statistics on it, but Cam Newton is much more clutch. I mean, how many times have you seen Matty Ice melt down in the last, clutch moments of a ball game? He's done it time and time again. Cam seems to get better as the situation tightens.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Joe. That's the biggest point right there. Talk about QBR, all this other stuff all you want. In the red zone, there is no greater weapon in the NFL than Cam Newton, and you cannot tell me different. Matt Ryan has been a liability statistically in the red zone for the past, 4 years in the NFL now, dude?
He's notorious for throwing interceptions in the end zone.
Yeah, and dude, that's where the points come through, man. You drive down the field and then throw an interception in the red zone. How demoralizing is that for your entire offense?
This is what they say, though, guys. They say Matt Ryan is 12-8 versus the Panthers, while Cam is 6-12 versus the Falcons. They say that that's
with
it.
Much less support. Much less support.
Right. Exactly. And I think you have to factor that in. And, I don't know if you caught what we were saying, Tony, but Cam's value goes up the closer he gets to the goal line, and Matt Ryan's value goes down, because inside the 5-yard line, Cam is the ultimate weapon.
I think that we get 3 more years of Matt Ryan and of a sample size, right? Then Cam. He made the playoffs. Is this correct that he has made the playoffs in 2008, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2016, and 2017? It looks like he was a loss in 2008, a loss in 2010. This can't be right. When did they go to the NFC Championship and lose to the? Didn't they lose to the Packers?
Eagles, right?
I thought it was the Packers, but it might have been no, that was last year.
All I know is that Cam Newton has never been on a 3-year dry spell.
That's right. If he were, he'd be crucified.
I'm pretty sure that they lost in the NFC Championship game to the Green Bay Packers one year, and he had a pretty good game there, as well as he had in. This is what it looks like his yards were in 2008. This is playoff passing yards. 2008, he had 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2010, he had 186 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. 2011, that was Cam Newton's first year. He had 199 yards passing, No touchdowns, no interceptions. This is playoff passing yards according to Pro Football Reference. I didn't think they made the playoffs this often, but 2012 is the year. 2012 is when they went to that NFC Championship game. He was 1-1. His playoff record is 4-6. Now, if we look at Cam Newton's playoff record, let's just see what it is. I don't think it's going to be tremendously better, right? Because but my point is this, is that like when we look at Cam Newton and I feel like we've seen the best Matt Ryan. Is that like your play? I feel like you play it safe. If you picked Matt Ryan over Cam Newton, it's because you were slightly scared. That's what I think.
I think it's because they're a cow turd.
Cam Newton's playoff record is 3-4. Does that look right? Does that sound right?
So, yeah.
He lost the game in 2013. He won a game and lost the game in 2014. Won 2 in 2015 playoff games, lost 1 to be in the Super Bowl, and lost the game last year in the wild card game. I think this is that Cam Newton. I just don't understand how you could pick Matt Ryan over Cam Newton. I don't get that part. Is that it just truly seems that the upside is so much greater. And this is, I think that people that say that, they also have recency bias, and that in 2013 and 2014, when Matt Ryan was stinking it up, 2013, 2014, that they were trying to get rid of him then.
Yeah, I remember that. And does anyone think that if Matt Ryan is wearing a Panthers uniform in 2015 with our receivers that we had, does anyone think that Matt Ryan is an MVP? Hell no, man. Matt Ryan has had weapons on weapons on weapons on weapons since he has been a quarterback in Atlanta. Cam Newton hasn't, and he still makes this a conversation that we're having.
I feel like this is that I didn't need to trash Matt Ryan before. Like, I mean, I hated the Falcons, and I thought Matt Ryan was like stupid because he had that one meme or picture where he's like in a girl's 90 or whatever.
Yeah, he's wearing a bra, man.
It's got to be fake. I don't believe it's real.
I think it's real, man.
If it's real, then it's even worse than I thought.
That's the real Matt Ryan.
If it's real Matt Ryan, then holy cow!
That's Victoria's Secret, bro.
I'll take my Mary Kay saleswoman and Cam Newton every day over that, because that's what one person said. Cam Newton looked like in a press conference, looked like a Mary Kay saleswoman. I about died. And it was true.
Victoria's Secret is Matt Ryan, dude.
So, but I was thinking this is that with Matt Ryan though, is that I didn't need to especially talk trash, even though Mel particularly dislikes Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
I dislike Matt Ryan only. I mean, because he's a Falcon and this and that, but he's like actually a downgrade and dislike from Michael Vick for me. But all of a sudden, he just got upticked. All of a sudden, because, like, no, I'm sorry. Is that it's just silly. Any last words, Joe?
No, I think I made my point. I know who I'm going with, Cam Newton all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's like you can take your cuck, Matt Ryan. I'll take this bull over here. Cam Newton. All right. C3 Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. On Tuesday nights, we also ice you up, folks, where we tell somebody in this world to ice up, to toughen up, to get it together. Who would like to go first, Mel or Joe?
I'm going to go. I'm going to bang mine out right now.
right.
You go
right in front of Matt Ryan. Right in front.
Dumbest woman in all of Australia, Melissa Bunning, hanging out on the back of a yacht, big, beautiful yacht, in a remote area of northwestern Australia, off the coast, hand-feeding sharks. Gets bitten and is surprised.
Surprised?
Melissa, you were hand-feeding sharks. What did you think was going to happen? How long did you think you would be able to feed them without having them take a finger? She almost lost it. She almost lost a finger. So, I don't know if she was drunk, under the influence, or she's just plain dumb. But she needs to be, I know that finger needs to be iced up. The way that thing looks, no doubt about that.
At what point do you think that's a good idea? Hey, let's go hand feed sharks.
So, I am
Let's
giving
get the
her
water with him into it, too.
capital ice up, son.
Cover yourself in blood.
Moron.
Yeah. All right. Ice up. All right, Mel, what do you got?
All right. Well, I'm just going to keep it simple and kind of take a little bit of a perspective we usually don't take on Ice Up, son. But it's funny. I thought of this before the show earlier in the day, and tonight's show fit into it perfectly. And really what all I'm wanting to say is to the rest of the NFC South, you've never faced a Carolina Panther team with the amount of weapons that we have this year. You've had us with Jericho Cotchery as our number one receiver. You've had us with the Twin Towers that ran 4 840s. You know, you have not seen you've not seen
Literally.
You know, like I think it was J-Dub talked about on the cat call. You just have not seen the type of speed that we have this year with DJ Moore, with Bird, with Samuels, and a healthy in a healthy Greg Olson, a second year CMC. I mean, this offense is going to be potent. And then you got Cam Newton, healthy as he's ever been, and saying he's going to be in the best shape of his life coming in. I'm just giving forewarning to the NFC South defenses out there and the defensive coordinators. Go ahead and ice up all summer long, boys, because it's going to be a long fall for you.
Amen.
There we go.
Cody, that's a great. Hey, and you know what? Here's a group. Ice up. For that's a great one right there. Cody, what you got for us?
Yeah, it's so great. It's hard for me to follow, man, but I'm going to try to do my best.
That's why I put you in between. You're in my buffer.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I don't have a particularly special one except for a country that I've had a large affinity for my entire life, and that is Japan. I'm a huge fan of Japanese video games, anime, culture. I'm a nerd, dude. I don't know if y'all picked that up about me, but I'm a super nerd.
You had a Twitch channel.
Yeah, dude. I'm nerd to my soul, man. And maybe I shouldn't talk because the USA is not even represented in the World Cup.
True.
So maybe I should just avoid this, but I guess I'm just going to go in and do it. Japan was playing Belgium in the World Cup, and for most of the game, it was 0-0. And then Japan just turned it on, and they were up 2-0 at the end of the game. And then in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, they let Belgium have 3 unanswered points in the last end of the game and knocked them out. It was at one point it was 2-0, and then Japan let Belgium have 3 unanswered points back to back to back.
That's brutal.
And man,
for soccer speak, that's like putting up 72 in football.
Yeah, dude. They'll have matches that end 0-0.
That's like a 28-3 lead getting blown.
Dude. Japan pulled their best Falcons impersonation, and anytime you're impersonating the Falcons, I have no other choice but to ice you up, son. Nice. I love you, Japan, but do better. Ice up.
Do better. All right. Keith Warlick says, does Matt Ryan play for Japan?
Probably so, man.
Yes,
probably
he does.
So.
Hey guys, the comment of the night's from Carl Van on YouTube on the chat room. They were saying that our man Matt Ryan's so goofy he runs like a 3-legged emu.
All right. So my ice up pick this week goes to a Carolina Panther and Devin Funchess. All right. I know. Me and Devin Funchess have a funny history together. There is a story published in Charlotte 5. You can find it at charlotte5.com. Carolina Panthers player Devin Funchess shares his passion for cooking in a South End apartment.
He wasn't making salad, though.
I know. This is where he says something to this effect. It says the upcoming. This is reading. It says on the menu, shrimp fettuccine Alfredo, one of his signature dishes.
Oh.
Quote, the upcoming football season is a big one for Funchess now in the last year of his rookie deal. After last October's surprise trade of Kelvin Benjamin to the Buffalo Bills, he became the team's top receiver. And Funchess has been the tether point, nice work, tether point, and the overhaul of the Carolina Panthers receiving core, which general manager Marty Herney and head coach Ron Rivera have been restructuring and revamping. Cooking is a way for him to eat well and decompress after a grueling practice. He says he often finds himself cooking for his teammates like linebacker Shaq Thompson and wide receiver Damiere Byrd, my boy,
Baby
not
Bird.
quotes from Devin Funchess. After a hard day, you need a good meal. Usually we sit and talk about life, complain about the work week, just like regular people. Other than that, we relax. Yo, Devin and Charlotte 5 and all y'all jokers who believe this man is a chef. Don't trust no Devin Funchess shrimp Alfredo, fettuccine Alfredo. I don't believe it. You're gonna say I want the shrimp fettuccine Alfredo, and he's gonna bring you a salad with grilled shrimp on top. Because that's what he said his favorite food was. His rookie season. His rookie season, he was doing a radio interview with WFNZ, and I understand you're a baby. You're 18 years old. Somebody says, what's your favorite food is? And you say, I don't know, Twinkies. And you'd be like, dang, I didn't really mean Twinkies, but it was just the first thing that I said. But salad. And then all of a sudden you have a passion for cooking.
That's been stuck in your claw. That's been stuck in your craw for like 4 years now.
I was about to say, you will never let him live that down, will you?
I'd be like this. Is it be like, you know what? I was inspired by my grandma's cooking. One day she put up a pecan cranberry salad in front of my face. And I remembered that I was destined to be a chef.
I'm dead, dude. I'm dead.
So to you, Devin Funchess, I don't buy it. And I will not pay for your fettuccine Alfredo unless you make it for me and my boy, Damiere Byrd. That's my ice up pick to you, my friends. My name's Tony Dunn. It's the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. That might have been one of the most epic. I like going to congratulate myself on that ice up pick. Joe Riolano, tell them how they can follow you on Twitter.
All right, teacher fans, you can follow me on Twitter at Joe Riolano.
No fancy talk.
No
ice up coming for his pick, his Twitter handle. He keeps it real. Folks, Cody, where can they find you on Twitter, my friend?
At Cody Lack, CODYLAC. And from now on, every time I eat a salad, I'm taking a picture of it and I'm tagging Tony Dunn to let him see the salad.
He's going to ice you up, man.
Yeah,
be like, I ate the salad before I ate what I was really going to eat.
No, dude, I saved my salad. I saved my salad for last, dude.
I eat my ribs before my salad. I'd be like, you're so weird.
Yeah, dude. Listen, man, that's how us nerds do. We save our salad for last. The iceberg lettuce, man.
All right. Well, we saved we saved old Mel Mayock for last. It's the salad of the C3 podcast. Mel, where can they find you on
You can catch me at Panthers Drafter anytime. Ready to talk. Hey, everybody out there, do us a favor. Share this episode. Share the link to this show. Give us a thumbs up. Help us grow.
Funchess, we love your pecan cranberry salad. Love it. All right, that's the C3 podcast. We'll check you out next Tuesday night, 9 p.m., where we go until we can't go no more. And time is no more.